So, risk-based oversight, the CAA has embarked on a risk-based oversight approach to oversight. And this project will be fully implemented in 2025. There are several reasons why the CAA embarked on this process, but one of them is that compliance-based oversight is no longer effective. When we speak to compliance, that is always compliance to the civil aviation regulations, and then out of that into international standards. But those have been found to no longer be effective. Our compliance base is quite high, but our safety standards have not improved. The safety risks will still exist even in the most compliant systems, and we need to therefore change the safety culture and introduce a safety culture into our industry. And that is part of what SMS and then the outflow from SMS is risk-based oversight is trying to achieve. So the second leg to this is that when risk-based oversight is implemented, it will incorporate flexibility into the CAA's ability to do oversight, not only on the organizations that we oversee, but also within the organizations. It will allow us to identify areas of concern that oversight can then concentrate on. Therefore, we are not in this process advocating for more oversight, but we are definitely advocating for better oversight. And we acknowledge the fact that overregulations have in fact in time identified safety gaps and even created in some cases safety gaps in our safety system. So what is risk-based oversight? For those that have not been part of this process, let me give you a very quick explanation on what risk-based oversight means to the CAA and as well to you as the industry. So risk-based oversight is a way in which the CAA performs oversight, where our planning, that is how often we will do our oversight, will be driven by a combination of your organization's risk profile and your safety and security performance. The oversight will then focus on how you manage your risks and how that you ensure compliance to the regulations. Compliance to the regulations will never be thrown away. It will always be there, but now we will be evaluating your performance when complying to the regulations. Oversight will only be on your organization's surveillance schedule with the CAA. It will not affect initial applications, amendment applications, or renewal applications. Risk-based oversight is purely on the surveillance aspect and will not affect your certification process at all unless an area is identified that is of such concern, and in that case, that will be followed through the normal CAA enforcement process. So please understand that this is based on how the CAA evaluates your risk to the safety in South Africa, as well as your risk to the Civil Aviation Authority's ability to maintain our mandate. So risk-based oversight will be judging or evaluating your risk profile, and the surveillance will be planned around your risk that you, as I explained, that you pose to the safety in the state, as well as then to the ability of the CAA to maintain our mandate. So what is the benefits of this new system? It will provide us with an improved safety performance. If implemented correctly, this will drive the safety performance in South Africa into a total new direction. We will be able to add value to our risk identification, where the risk, when evaluated, is given a value that is then calculated or calculable, and a quantitative value that is then calculated towards the organization's risk profile. We will then adjust our oversight to proportional levels. So in organizations that's of a higher risk to safety and security in the state will then see us more often, whereas an organization that's risk profile is identified as being low will not see us as often as they used to, or might not see us as often as they used to. This will force an improved relationship between industry and the CAA, as risk-based oversight is most definitely a two-way process. This is not the CAA dictating, this is a negotiation process between the CAA and industry. It will also allow the CAA improved resources and that we can apply to the risk itself. So we will be able to apply inspectors and our resources to areas where there is an actual concern and relieve areas that are not of concern to us. Risk-based oversight is a total collaborative assessment and information needs to be shared amongst parties, both from the CAA as well as from the industry. As part of the question that was asked, how can the industry assist with the implementation of the risk-based oversight process or project? And this is one of the items. It is very important that the industry collaborate with us as the CAA in sharing information, identifying areas that is of concern and areas that are of risk. And the year coming, 2024, there's going to be a lot of movement seen in that area where there is going to be a lot of collaborative efforts between industry and CAA in the coming months next year. So please keep an eye out for that. So the risk-based oversight assessment tool, if you can call it that, and the way how it is put together. If you look at top right corner, other input, the other input that we're talking about in this case in that little diagram will be something like a surprise, like the COVID-19 that we had in 2020, that will affect the surveillance frequencies, but not calling on something like that happening again. Anything else that a trend is noted, for instance, bird migrations, weather patterns, when a trend is noted in the industry and also internationally, that information will then be fed into the system and that will change the frequency of the surveillance oversights. Other service provider inputs, the other orange block, those orange blocks are outliers, so it's not a direct effect on the process, but affects it indirectly. To give an example, if an airport is downgraded by the CAA, that will directly affect the operators operating into that airport, which will directly affect the risk profile of those operators and then therefore increase the frequency. The same with if there is a security breach, which will then affect both the operator and the airport. So it is such an interlinked system that the one cannot stand alone without all the other areas being involved, including the industry. So the surveillance schedule from your frequency modifier, you will then determine your surveillance schedule. Surveillances will still be conducted, but part of the surveillance that's being conducted, instead of just evaluating compliance, the effectiveness of the compliance will now be evaluated. To give an example, the previous compliance requirement was, do you have a manual of procedures? Currently, or in the new system going ahead, the question will be asked, how effective is your manual of procedures? So that is the new way of thinking. And also another area where the industry can assist the CAA in this regard is, please don't find it as a critique on your organization. Please assist the inspectors, negotiate with the inspectors, discuss in a common manner the process that you followed in developing your MOP, and then also the effectiveness of your manual of procedures and all other questions stemming from there. So the surveillance outcomes that will be counted towards your risk profile will not only be the surveillance outcomes of the surveillance audits, but we will take into account the renewal audit outcomes as well as initial or amendments. Even though in your initial and amendments, performance will not be evaluated, the outcomes of the audits will, in order to determine whether there's a trend. The risk profile is then calculated from the outcomes of the audit findings or audit outcomes, as well as on the very left-hand side, the ongoing safety performance. Now, the ongoing safety performance, that is items such as any exemptions applied for, any enforcement actions taken on an organization, all occurrences reported. All of those will be analyzed for their risk. As I explained before, the risk value will be added to that analysis, and that will then be calculated towards your organization's risk profile. The very top green block, criteria for surveillance assessment. The criteria for surveillance assessment comes out of all of this combined, where we then evaluate and change the areas that needs more attention. So that means that surveillance checklist questions change in order to guide the inspector to determine or to guide the inspector to the areas of more concern. So in a nutshell, that is exactly how the system will work going forward. What is the effects and the actions required? Now, actions required is the data. We need to foster a safety management system and the proper implementation of that in the state, and then from there, the reporting of our safety and security indicators to the CAA. The data needs to be accurate, and the more data we have, the easier it will be for us to determine your organization's risk profile accurately. So we need the industry to actively implement SMS, actively investigate these safety and security performance indicators, and actively report all occurrences and these indicators to the CAA on a regular basis. Without this information, the system cannot work, and we really honestly need the industry's assistance with that. In the year coming, we will also be doing sector risk profiling, where we will engage with industry intensively to determine the sectors itself and the safety areas or safety and security indicators within those sectors that we need to then start the process with and flow through to all of the operators or organizations within that sector. More on that in the new year, when we will share that information with the industry, and also contact details on how to join these sector risk profile engagements. So the behavioral changes also, as I said before, all of our behaviors in this regard need to change. We need to take our focus, and we need to focus on the safety and security in this country. And we need to work together to be able to ensure that this process is correctly implemented for your sakes, as well as for the CAA and for the general public out there. There needs to be negotiation between the CAA and industry. We need to collaborate and work together, and we need to walk this path together. Otherwise, it's doomed for failure, and it will not be implemented correctly. There will be a transition period. I can assure you that we're not going to walk in next year, 1st of January, and expect everybody to be on board with risk-based oversight. So the transition period will be over a period of time, starting 1 April 2024 going forward, but there will also be industry training conducted on a regular basis, and on a continuous basis there will be information sharing, and there will be availability for all questions asked. There is, on the CAA website, there is a page for risk-based oversight. There's contact details, and email detail and contact details that you could contact for any questions. Please feel free to add your questions there so that we can build a Q&A bank and assist you further with any concerns that you might have in this regard. That is it from me. I hope you found that informative, and I hope I answered all of your questions. Thank you very much.